quite difficult. So those then who preside over the affairs of men have got the blessings of God. So I see the nominations. I've had my sister here speak about boardrooms and everything else. You see, I don't know where people get these things that political parties are clueless. Political parties are not clueless. They actually know. You can actually feel the temperature. And sometimes we simply are wasting resources going down there. Of course, there is the closure. The party primaries in themselves are not very democratic, because you are limiting it to a few people. If you, for example, we in DAP are doing nominations today. Today is a working day. The Nairobi nominations, Garissa and other places. So today is a working day. So how many people who actually support me or support DAP will be available today? Not very many people will be available today. So if we then synonymize democracy with party primaries, we also are getting it wrong, because parties primarily exist to win seats. And if they see that you are not going to win a seat, for example, it will actually be a folly for that particular party to allow you to go to the ballot in the name of democracy. But then I need to actually say this. We've got about 89 political parties that exist. I think about 82 will be fielding candidates. If you feel that you must not run, if you feel like this party is not actually good with you, you have got the option of actually shifting and going to another party. You should have actually done that earlier. Yeah. Two, there's still 10 to 14 days for you to actually run as an independent. So there is room, there is sufficient room. And democracy is not geometrical. Okay. Like, you know, it's not a perfect circle, it's not a rectangle or a triangle. So, as in, these issues are actually fluid. You find ways of how you fit in. So, the next 10 days are actually going to be critical for this election, for the simple reason that sometimes, you know, this is when political parties teach aspirants a little fear of God. Yeah. That's why you hear them sounding the way they sound here, and what you see elsewhere, that you actually could be very close to your party leader, and all of a sudden when nominations are there, the party leader is not picking your call. The officials are not actually available. As we go to nominations, aspirants are learning a little fear of God. Okay. And there is proper character development. Yeah. But that also speaks to the choices that people make when you get to a party. You know, you show up for a party at the last moment. And yeah, you just show up as an aspirant. There are the people who have put in their resources, they put in time, they've put in work for the political party. Yeah. Sometimes the party looks at, we have got long-term goals. Okay. You've come here, probably you have got a little bit of money. And I love the idea that parties now are actually scoffing at money. That is one of those good things. Why? So
which one do you go for, Maliba? Consensus or ballot?
It's a mixed bag, because in the nomination rules, a lot of political parties have got up to 3 ways of going about it. Nominations by bringing in people. Sometimes political parties allow universal suffrage, where anyone who is actually registered as a voter in that particular area can vote for the other person. Sometimes there's consensus. And then number 4, there is the direct nomination, depending on what the party feels. They can actually do it scientifically, and sometimes it's difficult to please party scientists. Okay. You know, party scientists might not be necessarily serious scientists.
Let me bring in Amasi on this. They are the party officials, the ones giving people the fear of God. So which is the direction to go?
Trevor, just before I delve into the political bit, there's a very critical thing that was really bothering me. One, it is this issue of the government opting to borrow locally in regards to financing the budget. Yeah. And from where I sit in Democratic Party presidential candidate, we have always been of the option, why should the government borrow locally? Because the moment the government borrows locally, we have challenges for the local SMEs accessing these finances. And something to note that is positive again from the budget that was read yesterday, there is this credit scheme that has been created by government, at least to give the SMEs access to this funding, because a lot of them have been struggling to get access to financing. Then the other bit that is very critical is this subsidy on oil, or oil products, that is petroleum and all that. Where I sit, I think that was not a right decision for the country to make, because one, how do you tax the oil products, and then a few months later, you come and give them subsidy? It's a zero-sum game. Yeah. Why should you be doing things that you have not thought through? So as a country, we need to implement or buy into ideas that are really solid to make sure that we transform the aspirations of many young people and of many Kenyans. Then the issue now of politics. You know, we are in a year where things are so dynamic. And I'd like to just caution the country that for us to proceed and to progress well as a country, we need to really be tolerant in the political field. Because if the politics of this year are going to be worse, then as a country we'll have a long time to recover from it. Yeah. And that calls for whatever you're saying happening in Azimio. It is a politics of self-interest, I'll say, because most of them who are making a lot of noise, they are people who are going home. So they are trying to find space in this particular Azimio government. And I really sympathize with the arrogance the Azimio guys have of they are going to form the next government. It is a fallacical thought that they believe that, I don't know, Raila Amolo Odinga is going to win from heaven. I don't know how. But the real fact is, as a country, we need to move away from this politics of self-interest. Let leaders represent the ideas of or aspirations of their people. Because the moment they don't do that and they represent their own ideas, we end up finding ourselves in a quagmire where decisions cannot be made because Alfred Mutua, the governor of Machakos, is not satisfied. And then the other day, I watched him here yesterday. He was giving threats that, oh, I have been called by William Samoei Ruto, I've been called by this other person. You see, as a country, we don't need to go in that particular direction. We need to be a country of reason, leaders who have principles. And I really commend my party leader, that is Justin Muturi. This man, you've never had him do all these squabbles all over the country, demanding for this, I don't know, demanding for this. No, he has always remained steadfast with his focus on integrity, order, and prosperity. There's no point you'll hear him say, oh, if I'm not involved in this particular arrangement, I am going to go call someone else. If I'm not involved here, I'm going to do. He is someone who is steadfast. And as a country, we really need such leaders. But funny thing is, as a country, we tend to vote for, even the other day I saw a meme that was saying, you know, 2,000 years ago, when the people were asked between Jesus and Barnabas, who are you going to pick or whom should we spare? The people chose the Barnabas, the thief. And they made Jesus to be crucified. And up to today, 2,000 years ago, currently, if you ask people, okay, between this thief and this one, who do you want? People will prefer the highest thief. So what we are saying as Democratic Party is, let us be a country of understanding. Let us give people equal opportunities, but let us not go into ideas of self-interest. Okay. Those politics of self-interest are really dividing.
I'll come to you in a bit. Omulo.
Thank you very much, Trevor. Maybe before I come to your question, he has reminded me on a few things. One, in regards to this budget we are discussing. And this one I can tell my brother Maliba, who has been my good friend, that, you know, this budget, people are not going to benefit this year because of two factors. One, because of election. Two, global supply chain disruption. That one you're aware. So Kenyans might not benefit so much into this.
So what will they
So I think the incoming government will be able now to check, and that's why you cannot see 6,000 shillings factored in this budget.
It's actually factored in.
It's not.
It's factored. I can actually point.
Coming back to what Trevor was asking.
Let's talk about the nominations.
Yes,
the budget
you asked a question about, is it about the people or is it about
selfish interest?
Selfish interest. I can tell you for a fact, and from where I sit, that if you look at the formation of Azimio and what is happening currently, there's a lot of firefighting, a lot of coercion, a lot of blackmail, because this is a group of political parties that have come together for selfish interest. You look at this party, these are small parties like DAP, they were just formed recently, mushrooming of different parties. If you look at this 23, I don't know, there are 24 parties, compared to 202, where we used to have serious parties like DP, SDP, NDP, you know, Ford Kenya that was led by Wamalwa. Those were serious parties with grassroots support and with serious agenda. But nowadays you look at these small parties, I think they are coming up because of the, you know, the passing of Political Parties Act, which has given a room for these small parties to ensure, because I know their target. What they're targeting is the the political parties fund. You know, in that fund, you can only get 70% accumulated votes from the accumulated votes. It means that if you are an aspirant, there are aspirants who are just coming up for the sake of, you know, getting some few votes so that they can achieve that 70%. Then 15% for SIGs, especially interest group, if you're able to elect youth, people with disability, and so many things. And then 10%, you know, from so long as you've, you know, contesting or you get an elected MCA, and then 5% for administrative purposes. So these small parties do not have agenda. Yeah. So they have really put, you know, Raila Odinga in a very bad situation. And therefore, if you compare that with Kenya Kwanza, you've never seen us signing any coalition agreement. We have not even gone there. We have not even negotiated, even though it is the law, but we are coming, we are signing very soon. But if you look at Azimio, Maliba's party, they have signed 10 documents. You know, this one can tell you that these people are really looking for positions. The interest is not about the people. They have signed 10 coalition agreements. Even recently, you see Alfred Mutua, they were really crying. They were saying now we need to recheck on what was signed from the Azimio coalition now to Azimio One Kenya Alliance, which is the same thing. If you look at the English word, the Azimio, which is bringing the country together, then One Kenya Alliance is the same thing. So, you know, look at, you know, it is something that is not in the best interest of Mwananchi. Okay. And that's why we want to caution politicians that as much as we are looking for position, as much as we are positioning ourselves, let us allow the people to decide, because there are a lot of things that are affecting young people. Okay. Come to nominations. I know the law provides for indirect, you know, ticket. The law provides for, there's a framework for all these things, even consensus. But it is important that we allow the people to elect them, whom they feel is the best leader to lead them, rather than issuing direct tickets. For example, in your stronghold, why would you, you know, give direct tickets? I come from Homa Bay, and, you know, people are not happy, because if you look at that county, there's a stronghold for ODM. For God's sake, why would you give direct ticket? Allow people to do that election. So if you do that, you are denying other Kenyans a chance to elect the person who can lead them, the person who can bring development, the person whom they feel is the right leader to lead them. So it is not a good idea. Let us give people an opportunity to elect their leaders. Okay.
Lukosi, you know, you're going against the Secretary General, ODM, that is Sifuna. In the seat that you're looking for.
But I mean, Jubilee Party.
Do you feel that it's going to be fair play? Because it's still Azimio anyway. Is there going to be fair play, considering that that is the person you're going against?
Okay.
In your own view, is it going to be, are you confident that there'll be fair play?
As long as these things are not going to be sealed in the boardroom and the will of the people is going to prevail, then there will be fairness. But if it is just someone is being given direct ticket because we have decided for gubernatorial seat, this is the the person we are giving, we have endorsed as Azimio, this is the person we have endorsed for the senatorial seat, for the women rep seat, without really allowing everyone and giving them a fair platform to get to know who actually has the people's who the people really want them to represent.
But has there been any conversation held with you? Because so far they're saying that they're holding conversations of a consensus.
For now, there are ongoing conversations in parties, like in Jubilee Party, where I am and I'm vying. We have been having ongoing discussions, and actually next week we are going to have a meeting, all of us, the senatorial aspirants under Jubilee Party. So if we can reach an amicable consensus and my opponents can agree that I am the right candidate to fly the Jubilee Party ticket, then it is okay. But then I really am against this issue of boardroom.
Is the reverse also possible? Would you agree that somebody else is the one who should fly?
It's really hard, because everyone will really want to get that ticket. So it's hard, unless maybe you really have your own interest that you are pursuing, because politics is about interest. Maybe you are vying for some other reasons, not because you want to get into the into that position to represent the people. But for someone like me who has been preparing for this senatorial seat for as long as possible, I cannot let go of everything just because I've been sat down and promised something out of it.
But have you done your own polls? What are the polls showing you? Or are you just going this based on what people are telling you? Have you done anything scientific to show that you're the most likely candidate? Or no?
Yes. I think any serious aspirant should have done that already.
What are your polls showing you?
My polls? Okay. from my polls,
Vote yourself.
about myself. Okay. I think I'm the most likely, the most likable candidate. And when it comes to Jubilee Party, what I've gotten from my polls is that I'm bringing to Jubilee Party 3 packages as a woman, as a youth, and of course I'm also bringing the Mlembe vote. So that is something that I've consolidated. And from those polls, I can tell actually I am the most likely candidate for that senatorial seat compared to my 3 other opponents.
Okay. Madiba, you wanted to respond.
I actually just needed to respond to a few things.
Yeah.
Newton, my younger brother Newton, took a long, winded route to just introduce his candidate and party. You know how terrible it is that he had to deal with Azimio, go to Kenya Kwanza. He even turned into a preacher before he then introduced his candidate. By the way, who is that? Moving on quickly, I'd just like to say this, that one of the problems we've had, the president has really had a challenge, has been parliament. And your candidate has actually been at the top of parliament. So he cannot absolve himself of this.
No.
Now,
let him finish.
So let me just finish. Now, I just needed to actually say that he should actually have sold his candidate very easily without necessarily going around. You don't go beating around the bush. You just stand out and you say, this is what my candidate is. But this is a political setup. And by the way, it's actually funny, Trevor, how politicians, at least relatively young politicians seated here, are coming in here and instigate, or rather castigating interest, self-interest. How can we, as young people sitting on a national TV, form a congregation of hypocrites? Interests are not bad. Everyone who's running actually needs something, the political parties. And I chuckle at Omulo. Omulo comes from ANC. And he says that these smaller parties that have come up, what is ANC if we are going to talk about smaller parties? Because ANC has actually eroded. Even the few members we, the people of Kakamega, had given them, have left them. So the only thing ANC has now is Malala, as a striker there, and who else? Probably Ndomulo, because I've known him as a good striker. But otherwise, properly put, ANC is actually turning out to be just an NGO. So, as it's not even a small party, it's actually quite down there. So he cannot be talking about small parties and you come from ANC. But the only reason why, for example, Kenya Kwanza took up Musalia Mudavadi, or why Kenya Kwanza, or the leadership of Kenya Kwanza would want Musalia Mudavadi, is because he's a land economist. And I'm not saying anything else. So you go around these issues and you see like we coming out and looking like it's unfair. Parties exist to win. Political parties are formed to capture power so that then they can administer state. Parties are not here. And you know, he says that, oh, these parties are actually targeting the political parties fund. What is ANC targeting? Is it targeting offerings or tithes? What are you guys looking for? You want seats. You also are looking for that particular thing. One of the reasons why you people left NASA crying and complaining and talking about earthquakes and everything else was because ODM had denied you a share of the political party's fund. And you are here, the director of political affairs, and you are sounding about interest not being there, and you are even cautioning politicians. You are a practicing politician. My brother, you actually cannot hunt with the hounds and then also run with the hares. You have to choose to be where you are. You are cautioning politicians. You are a practicing politician. We cannot actually turn this particular thing into some a small serenade with hypocrisy. We must actually, Trevor, be a people who are straightforward. I know where my sister comes from. She, first of all, has to deal with commander. This is democracy, and young people have got a little bit of challenges here and there when you are running in a political party. But then you cannot win a seat because you're just a young person. That also, being young in itself is not a qualification to run for office. You must actually bring to the table much more. And I know my sister here, brilliant. She brings in a lot. If she's out here, she actually has got so much to offer. You hear her speak, she has got so much to offer. So I wish her well. But I will actually really pray that she actually listens to the boardroom engagement, because sometimes the ground dynamics that we speak about, listening to the ground, it's not easy. Trevor, I'll surprise you. These are things these people cannot say here, and the politicians will not tell you. If you think politicians are liars, you have not tried the voter.
The voters are worse.
They are actually worse. If you think politicians are tricky, you have not met voters down there. These things you see politicians do, they actually are forced by voters down there. I have seen a few young people, a few of my friends who are actually running. You are running as an MCA, you are chief campaigner on the ground. When you show up in a Harambee somewhere, probably you've been called in to support, you find your chief campaigner is representing your opponent. And it's not easy out there. Again, politics is resource intensive. So if you're running, for example, against Commander or Margaret Wanjiru or Sakaja, sometimes you realize that they already have got a big brand. My brother, the SG for ODM, Sifuna, he's created his own space. He's also young. He's also from Lembe. He's a lawyer. But then over and above, he's also the SG of ODM. So you see how it works out. And if, for example, Sifuna anaweza kupangwa, then what will happen to Newton? What will then happen to Omulo, or probably myself? So I just needed to actually respond to that. You
okay. You wanted to respond.
You know, my brother Maliba here is raising a very serious allegation against our party leader. And I want to remind him again on this national television that the Speaker does not have a vote in Parliament. And even yesterday, if you recall, when the budget was going to be read, he categorically said, if there is any problem in this budget, then the voter is supposed to question their members of Parliament, because those members of Parliament are the key makers of that budget. But again, just to clarify on some things, Trevor, Maliba, I just want to tell you and tell Kenyans categorically that if in this country you walk in a room where bad politics is being discussed, you will never hear a mention of Right Honorable Justin Bedan Muturi. But if you happen to walk into a room where clean, principled politics is being discussed, then the name of Justin Bedan Muturi will pop up. Because this is a man who has stood out to be very straightforward. And that is why you never hear his name pop up in such bad conversations in this country when politics is being discussed. And honestly speaking, I'll challenge Maliba to state here if he has ever had.
I will do immediately.
Yes. If he has ever had the name of Justin Bedan Muturi being discussed in a room where bad politics is being discussed. This is a man who stands above par from all the rest.
Okay.
Yes. And again, Maliba should respect Democratic Party, because where I sit, DAP doesn't have a presidential candidate. So that is a small party. Those are small parties that we're talking about. But as we have a presidential...
Omulo, there was an issue around
you know, Trevor, Maliba is my good friend, and is also, we are members of the National Youth Council. We've worked with him for the last 7 years. But the only difference between me and him is that I've only changed parties twice, and he's the only person in this country who has changed parties 10 times. So it needs to be very objective and focused. Secondly, I need to, school Maliba, because he does not understand what we call national party and a village party. ANC has, passed through a process, election process, and we have 12 members of parliament. The fact that you took some few MPs, 2 or 3 of them, does not mean that ANC has been reduced to a village party. These are MPs who are coerced, who are intimidated, who are bought, and they came to your party, DAP, and later even left DAP to ODM. So it means that they did not even value DAP, because they realized that it's just a fertilizer party without a presidential candidate. Nobody is vying in that party, actually. In fact, you're wasting your time.
How many aspirants do you have?
Secondly, it is important that you've accepted that you are really looking for political parties fund. In fact, that is what I wanted.
The same that made you cry as you left NASA.
Ours is very objective, because one is to win elections. Secondly, Musalia is a very objective guy. And remember, during NASA, I told you very well that there was a promise. The reason why we left NASA was not because of political parties fund, but it was because of betrayal. And remember, even your co-principal, Kalonzo Musyoka, recently came up with a document that they signed, and he was claiming that he was betrayed. So that betrayal, that is why Musalia himself, who is a man, a gentleman of Kenyan politics, decided to, focus and support a cause that is related to what his vision or ideas, focuses on, which is economy. He has been talking about economy. Ruto has been talking about economy. So they are married together for a common reason, to help a Kenyan who is suffering and a Kenyan who needs help, a Kenyans who need to be relieved from poverty. And that is why I'm telling you that, Azimio coalition is just a coalition of noisemakers. These are people who have come together to look for seats. And that's why you're going to have a problem, especially looking for deputy president. And you've seen people making noise everywhere. And that's why you had to sign 10 documents. I've been wondering, a process, a political party, even though, Political Parties Act allows for, political parties, coalition formation. But, Azimio, coalition parties, these are not people who are very objective. Okay. And I really regret, you need to change your mind on it.
Let me bring in Lukosi first before I come to you. Why Jubilee? Because it seems we are stuck in this issue as to why you people are choosing the parties you're choosing. Why did you pick Jubilee? In your own analysis. Trevor,
I've been a life member of ODM from 2015. But I moved to Jubilee Party. That is a few months back.
That changes the meaning of life member, but yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, I was a life member of ODM, and now we are in the same house. So it's like I just moved from the bedroom to the kitchen. So I'm in Jubilee Party, and we are still pushing the same agenda of Azimio, and the same president whom we want as the two parties. So the reason why I've been in Jubilee Party.
Why did you move from?
Why I moved? Okay, the reason why I moved to Jubilee Party is because, first of all, the issue of direct ticket. Okay. Yes.
And fairness.
And fairness. I've been in ODM. I've really been pushing for the agenda of the youth. I'm the Deputy Secretary General of the Youth League in ODM. But then, and I did a lot. I formed a lobby group called Azimio La Umoja Youth Wing and brought together the youth leaders from the different parties under the Azimio coalition. And we have been popularizing the Azimio agenda across the country. But my issue with ODM is that in as much as I'm really pushing for the party leader to be the next president of this republic, I was not getting an opportunity because, yes, I am a first-timer, but then the work that I have done within my space as a youth leader and also as a policy advocate around issues of youth and community involvement, community inclusion in policy-making processes, I felt that I also need to be put on the table. Yeah. And when discussions are being made, if at all my brother, the way my brother is saying that it's important that I listen to the issue of boardroom discussions, but then why would I be there and listen to the issue of boardroom discussions when I'm not even being called on the table? Okay. There is nothing for me without me on that table.
So you felt excluded from it?
Yes, and I'm pushing. During the voter registration process, I lobbied. I registered more than 10,000 youths as new voters. But then there is nothing for me, actually. I felt like I was disillusioned, and that is the same issue that most young aspirants have been grappling with. Yeah. That's why you've seen some of them are trying to move to parties where they feel at least they can get a fair platform to participate in the electoral process. Yeah. And in Jubilee Party, first, I was embraced because of the lobbying that I've been doing for Raila. And I was called, come and continue with the same spirit of pushing for the youth agenda within the Jubilee Party.
Okay.
I've supported CS Joe Musheru being in the task force for development of the National Youth Policy and the development of the National Youth Council election guidelines. I've worked tirelessly for Jubilee Party, and I feel that even if I was not within the Jubilee Party within that time, I've been living in the same spirit that the president, who is the party leader, has been pushing for this country. And I feel like I'm really in the best position to get that senatorial ticket in Jubilee Party. Then another thing, what my brother Maliba was talking about, that me compared with Maina Kamanda, first of all, Maina Kamanda has is older, and he also has resources, which maybe as a first-time aspirant and a young person, I might not have accumulated that. But from my track record, within the time that I've been working in this space of advocacy, I feel that I am in the right space, I'm in the right position to fly the ticket. Maina Kamanda has been the nominated MP in Parliament. I don't know if there is anyone who has ever heard about him, any motion he has ever pushed, or any agenda he has ever pushed for the people from on the ground. And for me, within my small capacity, first of all, I am partnering with the Nairobi Metropolitan Services in support of the Nairobi Regeneration Program, through which we have been rehabilitating Nairobi River and Ngong River with the young people. Secondly, I've talked about the issue of the youth inclusion, pushing for youth inclusion. And I have that passion to serve. I am convicted that whether if I'm not really given a platform to sit at the table, then I would rather even go independent.
So even in Jubilee, you're still not sure?
No, for Jubilee, as I said earlier, for Jubilee Party, at least there is some fairness. Next week, we are going to have a sit down, and we are going to discuss. Yes.
Let me bring Maliba, you know, and this is a genuine issue, especially for young people, that feeling of exclusion in certain parties. Is that the reason why Omulo is saying you have changed parties 10 times?
Allow me to respond to that. You know, you realize that the word 10 keeps up popping up out of Omulo's mouth.
It's a standard number.
It's actually the standard number.
But Omulo has also changed so many
parties. He said, I moved parties 10 times. He says that Azimio has actually signed 10 documents. So 10 is actually his probably
number.
Not really even his lucky number. Probably that is his Muganga's number. If you repeat that, probably you can win a debate. But I like to say this. First of all, to Newton. I'll come back to your question. Newton says that the Speaker does not have a vote in Parliament. That is academic. This is the point. That the leadership, the failure or success of Parliament is implicit in the person of the Speaker, because he is the leader. If, for example, the President and the Deputy President die, God forbid, he then stands to become the leader of the nation. He is not, at least even if it's just temporary, he is there for not some person who is actually helpless. I have seen him actually advance that argument, and it's a defeatist argument, it's escapist. The Speaker, as the leader of the legislature, cannot run away from the failures of leadership from Parliament. He cannot absolve himself from that. I needed to make that clear. As to Omulo, you see, I saw him talking about the 10 times. Omulo himself is in ANC because that is the only party he can actually be in. He doesn't have the power, the presence, and even the oomph to be in any other party. He doesn't believe, he cannot cross the road. You know, we talk about why did the chicken cross the road? Because it had to cross. Why is Omulo in ANC? Because he can't go anywhere. That is actually the point. By the way, probably you would never have heard of Omulo if he had not gone to ANC. So he is there because ANC is building him and propping him up. But if I go to any particular party, I am confident in my abilities, the competences and experiences I have, and I know that I'm bringing anything in the table. And that is why I am not afraid to cross the road a few times. Of course, not 10 times. Yes, so I'll actually come back to that. So, I need to respond to this before I forget.
No, why did
it's very, very important. I'll speak about that
10 times.
I'll speak that. No, 10 times. That's ad hominem. That's ad hominem. He's running away from the fact. So let me... and by the way, you know, when you speak to me, you need to be very careful. You are speaking to DAP. This is the party. So... one of the reasons why I proposed to my sister Faith to consider the boardroom is that sometimes it's the honorable way of getting out of a disaster. That when you are brought to the table and you are spoken to, there are 4 reasons why you need to run for office if you believe as a young person that you are a practicing politician, it's in your heart. Number 1, when you run, you introduce your brand to the market. Because politics is like any other business. If you do not run, nobody knows about you. So run, you introduce your brand name into the political market. Number 2, when you run, you can get nominations. So like the way she has done a good run, probably if they told her that for one reason or the other one, you will actually need to step down so that we don't have to waste resources and go to our nominations, we can actually take you probably to the county assembly. That is one of those advantages. If she was just sitting in her law firm, no one would call her for even to listen to her. It's one of those things these politicians cannot say loudly. Number 3, why people run is that then you can get appointive jobs. There are some jobs in this country you don't get unless you ran and probably lost. Parastatals, even ambassadors and stuff. That is how how people find a way of going there. It might not be the ideal way, but that is the way you put out your name out there. And number 4, miracles do happen. There's even a church called Maximum Miracle Center. You can run and you win. If you do not run, you don't win. So I just needed to point out that to her so that she gets that clearly. So talking about how young people feel sometimes excluded, there is that particular issue. Politics is not given. Power is not given. That is a very common word. No one occupying a place of influence. Yesterday, I did an article in The Nation, and I was talking about this. The election in 2013 would actually bring in a new type of politician. For the last 10 years, we have had millennials trickle in. These people born between 1981 and 1996 trickle into power. But in this particular election, we will have a majority of elected leaders being millennials, because millennials are no longer the new kids in the block. We have got Generation Zers. 5 million of them are now adults. So now millennials ndio wale watu wakubwa sasa wa hii nchi. They might not be running for president or anything else. In 2017, 50% of all county assemblies were for people properly whom you would call millennials. So there's a generational handover in this particular election. How have those young people made it? They have not made it by complaining. They have made it by actually getting it. You know, there's something we call the demographic imperative, that somehow when the sun rises and the sun sets, it happens that automatically regimes go, generations come and go, and therefore, as we speak, is actually that particular time for the millennials to come to power. So 50% of MCAs as we speak are actually millennials. They are likely going to be more. The National Assembly Parliament generally had about 30% people you will call millennials. If you realize anybody who is running qualifies to be a millennial, either going to Parliament or anything else. So largely, we will actually have millennials going in there. So talking about young people, talking about space not being there. Honestly, how does Raila Odinga, for example, form a party and then popularize the party, make it so popular, and then tell young people, okay, now come take over? One of those things that is actually difficult is that political succession is fairly a foreign concept in our politics. There's never succession planning. So why have I changed the party? I was the first chairperson of the TNA Youth League. I inspired a lot of them here, they cannot tell you. But I used to go to places where they have not gone. It's that daring that has actually inspired a few of them. When we meet separately, they'll tell you about that. So I left TNA, of course, we merged. When we merged, I felt like a little bit, for those of us who had come from TNA, when we went to Jubilee, there was serious character building for people who had come from TNA, especially from a certain wing that really felt like the leadership of TNA had probably marginalized them. So when we came to Jubilee, we were taught the fear of God. We didn't find a lot of things working. So I went to ODM. So I ran on ODM in 2017. And I'm not so far. This particular year, I am on DAP. DAP is in Azimio, is actually a sister party. We're actually helping ODM take care of this disinfect Western, number one, of what ANC had done. You know, it had defiled that place. A lot of drama and nothing. So he asked what we are bringing on board. And I can tell you, we know we have done our numbers as DAP. And I can tell you, we are delivering the deputy president. In this particular election, we will deliver the deputy president. We are delivering the governor for Nairobi. In Nairobi, for example, we are delivering 9 members of parliament. We are delivering 35 MCS. And we are having the majority leader. And we will have 20% of government. I can tell you 100% because I asked these guys and you didn't allow them actually to respond. How many aspirants do they have? These guys can actually sit here and speak big as if they come from political parties when even NGOs are better than them in mobilization. They have no aspirants. Okay. We are the third party when it comes to a number of the party that has got serious aspirants. We have got very quality aspirants everywhere. And he speaks about a few MPs. How many MPs do you even have?
Trevor.
Trevor,
yes.
Trevor, you're allowing Maliba to
Okay.
But
I don't know. I understand Maliba is the spokesperson of DAP, yeah. But I don't know why he's so overambitious.
Thank you very much.
What are you doing here? If you're not ambitious, why are you in politics?
No, you are overly ambitious.
Overly ambitious. I'm telling you what our numbers.
No, let explain.
Okay, you are going to deliver the deputy president.
Yes.
On what ground? On what ground? What are you bringing on the table?
You know that is good. Can I respond?
Trevor,
can I respond?
Okay, you're going to bring. I know you have a gubernatorial aspirant, but this gubernatorial aspirant.
Not one.
Okay, one or two who have never moved. They have never participated in any rally. They have never moved on the ground. So I don't know.
But at least you know him or her.
I know my brother. Okay, I only know one candidate, my brother Fwamba, NC Fwamba, and I've seen so many people challenging him. Please, why can't you come to the ground? You know, social media cannot deliver you a gubernatorial seat. Okay. So even if we are really pushing as Azimio, and you are the one who was talking about not being, you know, these small parties, not really being so pushy and overly ambitious within this Azimio coalition.
Let her finish.
No, just a quick interjection. You know, I hear Nora talking about a small party. You know, we as DAP. This is a quick interjection. No. We as DAP actually have got more aspirants than Jubilee, which is the smaller party.
Trevor.
Okay, Trevor.
Let Lukosi finish.
Yes, Trevor. So, in as much as we are really pushing for these boardroom negotiations, I'm still getting back to that.
Yeah.
Please also just be realistic in this. Whatever you're bringing on the table, let it be something that people can even relate with.
Okay.
And as I said, first of all, it's the will of the people that has to prevail. So when you're talking of you're bringing a gubernatorial aspirant, but I've never seen.
I said we will win the gubernatorial. And Trevor, a quick one. Trevor, we had she spoke about her numbers.
Let's bring in Ombulo on this.
Yes.
Maliba, the show is not yours.
It's Trevor's.
You know, Trevor, let us be realistic. It's not good. It's not bad to be ambitious.
Yeah.
And even to have dreams. And we wish you well. And just to help you, Maliba, you know, DAP is not checkmating.
Why are you complaining about my dreams?
No.
He's not, you know, checkmating NC, but it was meant to checkmate Ford Kenya, and that one is a serious fact that you need to put in your mind.
Of course, Ford Kenya is bigger than ANC.
Hold your thoughts.
You know, sometimes I don't respond to shenanigans or propaganda from Maliba, because if you look at the supposed party leader of DAP, Wamunyinyi, is sitting in the third row of Azimio principle, compared to Musale, who is sitting in the first row.
Are you the one who is
if you are saying that you are going to deliver DP, I wonder how will you come from the third row to the first row. But be that as it may, let me tell you two things. One, you know, I'm not crossing the roads because, you know, what young people do not understand is about consistency. If you want to build yourself in leadership, and I can tell you for a fact that Musale is a good mentor, and if you look at ANC, it's the only party that has mentored young people. Look at the position of the Secretary General. He's a young person. I'm a director. I've grown from, you know, being a Nairobi youth leader of the party, the national youth leadership, and now I was appointed the Director of Strategy and Political Affairs. Maliba, when you are the TNA youth leader, when you started TNA, I told you very well, I don't know why you ran away and you left it to this guy who was nominated, Gideon Keter. By now he
was in URP, you're mixing up your numbers.
But he came and overtook you, and because you left. So what I am saying is that, you know, what young people need to understand is about consistency. Be in a political party, grow yourself, look for a space. It is very hard.
but you have to fight for it. And that's what we need to do.
All right.
And that is the example I want to give to these young people. I don't have to hope from one party to another. And lastly, Trevor, what I told you in Azimio, there's a very big problem. And I told you there's a lot of firefighting.
Yeah.
You know, Maliba and the Faith comes from one coalition. And as you can see, they don't even believe in each other. So that is a replica of what is happening with the principles. So this, you know, it shows a lot of things.
Okay.
And today I've learned that even Jubilee does not believe DAP can deliver anything.
She's not Jubilee.
But just try.
I am speaking for a party.
She's
speaking for herself.
Amasi. All right.
As a wind up, you know, Trevor, you know, when Jesus was moving around, there's these pastors who came and they were making a lot of noise. That is what Maliba is doing, but we pray for him.
Amasi, close this discussion for us. We've run out of time now.
You know, Trevor, thank you so much. But Maliba, I wish you well, as my friend here has said. Please sort out your confusions within the Azimio, and then now you can come and present the ideas to the Kenyan people. But Trevor, as young people, and I will echo the sentiments of Mulo Jr. here, we need to be consistent. In politics, if you fibble a little bit, you're out. So you need to be consistent, you need to press hard, you need to push hard, you don't need to move goalposts for you to benefit from it. And I really encourage my sister Faith here. She has done a good job for ODM, but I'm really sorry. They never appreciated your efforts. And I hope Jubilee will also appreciate your efforts. But if they don't, kindly join Democratic Party.
It's too late.
We encourage. No, it is not too late. There's usually, we are still in the political field. So for 2022 maybe, but for future, please consider coming to Democratic Party.
All right.
As a party of choice for you. But again, Trevor, as we end,
yes,
this is my ending remarks. If we truly want to raise the living standards of the masses, we must promote equality of opportunities amongst all of us, be it young, be it middle-aged, be it the elderly. We need to have equal opportunities for everyone.
Okay.
And that is what, as Democratic Party, we stand for. Opportunities to everyone, young, middle-aged, and old.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have to leave it there for now. Coming up next is Level Up Friday, right? Let's take a quick break, but we can squeeze in some quick feedback, right? Yes. Let's bring it up really quick to not be fair for us to close this without hearing what the people have to say. Angela Nazaro says, Mr. Mulo, party is jostling for positions within the coalitions isn't something abnormal. That's why Kenya Kwanza decided to silence Noisy Malala with the direct ticket. Otherwise, it's better to let Wananchi have their say through the ballot. Governor 254 says political parties should take steps to implement the gender equity principles enshrined in the national constitution and electoral laws and their constitutions to bring about change in the identification, selection and nomination of women during the electoral process, I believe. Okay. Chalu Woodrozi says no matter how party nominations are done, people will never be contented. Parties should be allowed to use the best method in choosing a popular candidate that make the party win. No party will ever be perfect in nominations issue. Okay. Abere Jacob says, what I am seeing as party nomination headache, I see it as a healthy process. It now candidates to plan proper than rambling. Small parties like DP of Muturi are like small bullies trained on how to hold a yoke. Let them avoid crying. Okay. Collins Otieno says, where is Justin Muturi campaigning? It is time he chose to join Azimio or One Kenya. I'd rather advise him to vie for a gubernatorial seat in his home county. 2, nominations in ODM will cost Raila in Luo Nyanza. What interest does Raila have in his bedroom where he is assured of more than 90% votes? What is wrong with carrying out nominations? Okay. Nicho Maingi says zoning is basically killing small political parties at the expense of the big ones. For instance, if zoning happens in Lower Eastern, Mendeleo Chap won't get any position when Wiper is there. It shouldn't be allowed at all. Okay, that's where we'll leave it for now. It's time for Level Up Friday. We ran out of time, Amasi. All right.